All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Fast Break. I am 𝗚cie Johnson. Believe it or not, this is episode 6. We are taping this on a gloriously frigid day coming out of the All-Star break. And true to my word, for those of you who are regular watchers, I did not watch 1 second of All-Star weekend, a fact of which I'm quite proud. And before we get into the 4 storylines I'm going to be monitoring this week, I do have to get one thing off my chest, and that is, it's not the second half of the season, okay? There are 27 games left for the Bulls coming out of the All-Star break, so it's really a third of the season left. You're gonna hear players and coaches talk about the second half a lot. That is incorrect. I feel better already. All right, here are the 4 storylines I'm gonna be checking out this week as the Bulls resume their post-All-Star break schedule in New York against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. Number 1, just the overall state of the team. Obviously, the Bulls limped into the All-Star break. They had a 4-game losing streak. They were all blowout losses. They lost those 4 games by an average of 22 points. Their net rating was -24, which is almost double the next worst team. That's a big yikes. And look, this team just looked disjointed at both ends. That was the storyline question that I used for Billy Donovan and players following that last loss before the All-Star break against the Detroit Pistons. Do you feel disjointed? This is what happens around the All-Star break and the trade deadline for teams that make moves. Obviously, the Bulls traded away their best player in Zach LaVine. They obviously were missing the ultimate connecting piece in Lonzo Ball, who missed those last 4 games before the All-Star break due to illness. And they are incorporating 2 new players in Tre Jones and Kevin Huerter into a rotation. So look, lineups changed, rotations changed, groupings changed. It can lead to a lot of disjointedness. Now, to Billy Donovan and the players' credits, none of them use this as an excuse. They said this is just part of the reality of the NBA. But I saw a team that looked disjointed at both ends going into the All-Star break. So can they hit the reset button coming out of the All-Star break? Billy Donovan did say he was going to use the All-Star break to watch film of the new players, maybe tweak some pairings, try some different combinations. We will see how that plays out. Obviously, Lonzo Ball is scheduled to be back from his illness. I already mentioned he is the ultimate connecting piece. But, you know, this is what happens, again, when a guy like Zach LaVine is traded away. He's the best player. Now Coby White is the team's opponent's #1 scout. He's going to get more defensive attention. They're going to crowd his catch and shoot situations. They're going to try to take away his ability to get downhill. So this is stuff that those players need to look inward and try to fix to improve the play at both ends. Obviously, better shooting will help. The Bulls have been a good 3-point shooting team all season long. They shot 19 for 88 from 3-point range in those last 2 games against the Pistons. So improved shooting would obviously help this disjointed play. Coby White said he was going to use the All-Star break to try to rest up and get healthy. He nursed a minor ankle injury going into the All-Star break. We're going to be monitoring that coming out of the break. And obviously, again, he's going to be landing on the opponent's scouting report as the #1 offensive option alongside Nikola Vucevic. And Ayo Dosunmu, I talked to him about this disjointedness. He said, look, we just need to make simple plays for each other. Cut hard without the ball, pull defenders to the corner, open up the floor offensively, defensively, talk, communicate, stay connected. We'll see how that plays out. The last thing to look at for style of play is the Bulls are just sitting right in that middle again. They are 8th in the draft lottery standings and 10th in the play-in standings, where they always seem to be there. Somehow still 1.5 games ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers. So how do the Bulls approach these final 27 games? Do they try to make a play-in push? Do they prioritize draft positioning? That's something I'm going to be monitoring as well. All right, storyline number 2. I talked before about Billy Donovan perhaps tweaking some pairings or some combinations. He did say one look he might want to take a longer look at down the stretch of this season is the pairing of 𝗏ģis, Buzelis, and Patrick Williams. Now look, Billy Donovan has been favoring a 4-guard lineup for much of this season. It contributes to his overall preferred offensive style of play of pushing the pace, taking more 3-point shots. but it does come at a cost. The Bulls have obviously been challenged at the defensive end, particularly in the rebounding department at times, and they've given up way too many second chance points in some games. Could the pairing of 𝗦cie Buzelis and Patrick Williams help impact this and make it a more favorable lineup for the Bulls? We will see. Now, they've only shared the court for 182 minutes to this point of the season, and their net rating is -12.3. Obviously not ideal. I think this pairing mostly would benefit Patrick Williams. You know, after that high-profile move to the bench, in which he responded with 5 straight double-figure scoring games, he entered the All-Star break on a little bit of a downturn, 4 straight single-digit scoring games, and back reverting to those 3 rebound efforts that we've seen way too often from Patrick Williams. He also tweaked a knee in that last Pistons game. I talked to him post-game. He said he wasn't that concerned about it. Let's see how he comes out of All-Star break with that. But look, this pairing of 𝗦cie Buzelis and Patrick Williams could be a pairing for the future. It could unlock Patrick Williams' potential. 𝗦cie Buzelis obviously went into the All-Star break on quite the high. Not only did he enter the starting lineup, but he had 8 straight double-figure scoring games. That streak is intact coming out of the All-Star break, so we'll see how perhaps some more minutes with Patrick Williams helps. It certainly can be better than his All-Star dunk performance, but I digress. All right, storyline number 3, Nikola Vucevic. He obviously had a huge game in that last game before the break, 21 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and that came after 4 straight subpar games that did not live up to Nikola Vucevic's standards. Obviously, he was in a lot of high-profile rumors around the trade deadline. He did try to downplay them, but retrospectively, he is now starting to admit that they did impact him a little bit. He, to me, looked like a player who thought he might be elsewhere after the All-Star break. It's a natural human inclination to kind of let your guard down. And obviously, he was worried about the impact a trade might have on his young family. He's got young kids. So, you know, can Vooch take that momentum that he had in that last game against the Pistons and continue playing at the level that he played at before that downturn coming out of the All-Star break? You know, it's going to be interesting to monitor because, you know, will his role change over these final 27 games? Will Billy Donovan, with some of these new pairings and perhaps some of these new lineups, try the double big lineup? Will Zach Collins be alongside Nikola Vucevic? Will Billy Donovan try Zach Collins and Jalen Smith together? I mean, Vooch is obviously a player that puts up big numbers, and if the Bulls start prioritizing draft positioning over a play-in chase, could his minutes drop? These are things I'm going to be monitoring as we come out of the break. You know, Nikola Vucevic has been so remarkably consistent in his time in Chicago. He's always around 19 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game. He's 5th in the league in double-doubles with 35, and obviously has played at such a high level all season long. That's why those 4 games before that final game, before the All-Star break, stood out. They were really subpar for his standards. Let's see how he emerges out of the All-Star break. All right, storyline number 4, Lonzo Ball. First of all, it'll be good just to see Lonzo Ball. We have not seen from him, obviously, since he signed that contract extension. It was big news right before the trade deadline. He missed those last 4 games, as I mentioned, due to illness, has not even been around the team. So look, Lonzo Ball is one of those players that kind of just provides joy in the locker room. He has a palpable presence. He's a chill guy. He's low-key, but you can see how much his teammates and coaches like to be around him. So first of all, it'll be good just to see Lonzo Ball back with the Bulls. And obviously, it'll be interesting to see if his illness and coming out of the All-Star break and having not played in 4 games will impact his minutes limit. He had increased that minutes limit to that 28 range, 28, 29 minute range. In fact, he played 29 minutes in his last appearance against the Miami Heat. Maybe they take a game or 2 to kind of ramp that back up, but obviously Lonzo Ball, his comeback story to me is one of the best stories going in the NBA this season. And I'm going to be curious to see if he can regain that level coming out of the All-Star break and that 4-game absence due to illness. His impact on the court has been undeniable. It's not going to show up always in statistics. It often just shows up in his ability to connect players and make that a more cohesive unit at both ends. But let's throw out one stat. His off-on numbers are off the charts. The Bulls' offensive rating is plus 0.5, 0.7 points better per 100 possessions when he is on the court as opposed to when he is off the court. That to me tells you all you need to know about Lonzo Ball's impact. He obviously signed that 2-year extension. We have not had a chance to talk to him about it yet. I look forward to being able to do so. And we'll obviously have that storyline ready for you, along with everything else Bulls related as we move into not the second half, the final third of the season coming out of the All-Star break. That's going to do it for another episode of the Fast Break. We certainly appreciate you checking us out, and we'll be back with more storylines next week.